It can be rightfully said that today's generation lives on the internet, and we, the users, are almost ignorant of how those random bits, the ones and zeros, reach securely to a computer. It's not magic. It's work and sweat that make sure your packets reach you unzipped. Today, I'm here to tell you about how cybersecurity makes all this possible. Before we begin, let me brief you on the topics we're going to cover today. We are going to ask 3 important questions related to cybersecurity. First, why cybersecurity is needed. Next, what exactly cybersecurity is. And in the end, I'm going to show you a scenario of how cybersecurity can save a whole organization from organized cybercrime. Okay, so let's get started. A digital era. As I just said, we are living in a digital era. Whether it's booking a hotel room, ordering dinner, or even booking a cab, we are constantly using the internet. And inherently, we are constantly generating data. This data is generally stored on the cloud, which is basically a huge data server or data center that you can access online. We also use an array of devices to access this data. A golden age for data exploits. Now, for a hacker, this is a golden age. With so many access points, public IP addresses, constant traffic, and tons of data to exploit, black hat hackers are having one hell of a time exploiting vulnerabilities and creating malicious software. On top of that, cyber attacks are evolving by the day. Hackers are becoming smarter and more creative with their malware and how they bypass virus scans and firewalls, still baffling many people. Let's go through some of the most common types of cyber attacks now. Cyber threats. So, as you can see, there are 8 cyber attacks that have plagued us since the beginning of the internet. Let's go through them briefly. 1. Malware. This is an all-encompassing term for a variety of cyber threats, including Trojans, viruses, and bombs. Malware is simply defined as code with malicious intent that typically steals data or destroys something on the computer. 2. Phishing. Often posing as a request for data from a trusted third party, phishing attacks are sent via email and ask users to click on a link and enter their personal data. Phishing emails have gotten much more sophisticated in recent years, making it difficult for some people to discern a legitimate request from a false one. They often fall into the same category as spam, but are far more harmful than a simple ad. Number 3, password attacks. A password attack is exactly what it sounds like, a third party trying to gain access to your system by cracking a user's password. 4. DDoS, distributed denial of service. This attack focuses on disrupting the service of a network. Attackers send high volumes of data or traffic through the network, making a lot of connection requests until the network becomes overloaded and can no longer function. 5. Man-in-the-middle attacks, MITM. By impersonating the endpoint in an online information exchange. For example, the connection from your smartphone to a website. MITM attacks can obtain information from both the end user and the entity they are communicating with. For example, if you're banking online, the man in the middle would communicate with you by impersonating your bank, and communicate with the bank by impersonating you. The attacker would then receive all the information transferred between both parties, which could include sensitive data such as bank accounts and personal information. 6. Drive-by downloads. Through malware on a legitimate website, a program is downloaded to a user's system just by visiting the site. It doesn't require any action from the user to download it. 7. Malvertising. This is a way to compromise your computer with malicious code that is downloaded to your system when you click on an infected ad. 8. Rogue software. These are basically malware programs masquerading as legitimate and necessary security software that claim to keep your system safe. So, as you can see, the internet, while powerful and essential, also presents many opportunities for attackers to exploit vulnerabilities. And that is exactly why cybersecurity is so critical today. As you can see, the internet is not as safe a place as you might think. And this doesn't only apply to individuals. Large organizations are also at risk. There have been multiple cyber breaches in the past that have compromised the privacy and confidentiality of data. Even big companies like eBay, AOL, Evernote, and Adobe have experienced major cyber breaches, despite taking many security measures to protect their data. So, it's not only small individuals being targeted. Bigger organizations are constantly being attacked, too. After looking at all these types of cyber attacks, the breaches of the past, and the sheer amount of data available, we must think there must be some sort of mechanism to protect us. And indeed, there is. It's called cybersecurity. In a computing context, security comprises both cybersecurity and physical security. Both are used by enterprises to protect against unauthorized access to data centers and other computerized systems. Information security, which is designed to maintain the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data, is a subset of cybersecurity. The use of cybersecurity can help prevent cyber attacks, data breaches, identity theft, and aid in risk management. When an organization has a strong sense of network security and an effective incident response plan, it is better able to prevent and mitigate attacks. For example, antivirus protection defends information and guards against loss or theft by scanning computers for malicious code. When talking about cybersecurity, there are three main activities we are trying to protect ourselves against: unauthorized modification, unauthorized deletion, and unauthorized access. These three are very similar to what is known as the CIA Triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. The CIA Triad is commonly referred to as the three pillars of security, and most security policies, whether in large organizations or small companies, are based on these three principles. Let's go through them one by one. First, confidentiality. Confidentiality is roughly equivalent to privacy. Measures taken to ensure confidentiality are designed to prevent sensitive information from reaching the wrong people while making sure the right people can access it. Access must be restricted to those authorized to view the data. It's also common to categorize data according to the amount and type of damage that could occur if it falls into the wrong hands. More or less stringent measures can then be applied to those categories. Sometimes, safeguarding data confidentiality involves special training for those with access to sensitive documents. This training typically includes information on security risks and how to guard against them. It might also include guidance on strong passwords, password-related best practices, and social engineering methods to prevent people from breaking data handling rules, even with good intentions, and causing disastrous results. Next is integrity. Integrity involves maintaining the consistency, accuracy, and trustworthiness of data over its entire life cycle. Data must not be changed in transit, and steps must be taken to ensure it cannot be altered by unauthorized people. Measures to ensure integrity include file permissions and user access controls. Version control can prevent erroneous changes or accidental deletions by authorized users from becoming a problem. In addition, systems must be in place to detect any changes in data that might occur as a result of non-human caused events. Now, some data might include checksums, even cryptographic checksums, for verification of integrity. Backup or redundancies must be available to restore affected data to its correct state. Last but not least is availability. Availability is best ensured by rigorously maintaining hardware, performing hardware tests immediately when needed, and maintaining a correctly functional operating system environment that is free of software conflicts. It is also important to stay current with all necessary system upgrades. Providing adequate communication bandwidth and preventing bottlenecks are equally important. Redundancy, failover, and even high availability clusters can mitigate serious consequences when hardware issues occur. Fast and adaptive disaster recovery is essential for the worst-case scenarios, and that capacity relies on the existence of a comprehensive disaster recovery plan. Safeguards against data loss or interruption in connection must include unpredictable events such as natural disasters and fires. To prevent data loss from such occurrences, a backup copy must be stored in a geographically isolated location, perhaps even in a fireproof, waterproof place. Extra security equipment or software, such as firewalls and proxy servers, can guard us against downtimes and unreachable data due to malicious actions such as denial of service attacks and network intrusions. Now that we have seen what we are actually trying to implement when protecting ourselves on the internet, we should also know the ways we protect ourselves after we are attacked by cyber organizations. The first step to mitigating any type of cyber attack is to identify the malware or the cyber threat that is currently affecting your organization. Next, we need to analyze and evaluate all the affected parties and the file systems that have been compromised. Finally, we must patch the whole system so that our organization can return to its original running state without any cyber breaches. So, how is this exactly done? It's mostly done by calculating three factors: vulnerability, threat, and risk. Let's look at each of these one by one. First on the list is vulnerability. A vulnerability refers to a known weakness of an asset that can be exploited by one or more attackers. In other words, it is a known issue that allows an attack to be successful. For example, when a team member resigns and you forget to disable their access to external accounts, change logins, or remove their name from company credit cards, this leaves your business open to both unintentional and intentional threats. However, most vulnerabilities are exploited by automated attackers and not a human typing on the other side of the network. Testing for vulnerabilities is critical to ensuring the continuity of your systems by identifying weak points and developing a strategy to respond quickly. Here are some questions you should ask when determining your security vulnerabilities. Is your data backed up and stored in a secure offsite location? Is your data stored in the cloud? If yes, how exactly is it being protected from cloud vulnerabilities? What kind of security do you have to determine who can access, modify, or delete information within your organization? What kind of antivirus protection is in use? Are the licenses current, and is it running as often as needed? Do you have a data recovery plan in the event of a vulnerability being exploited? These are the normal questions one asks when checking their vulnerabilities. Next up is threat. A threat refers to a new or newly discovered incident with the potential to do harm to a system or your overall organization. There are three main types of threats: natural threats, like floods or tornadoes; unintentional threats, such as an employee mistakenly accessing the wrong information; intentional threats, which are deliberate malicious acts. There are many examples of intentional threats, including spyware, malware, adware, and the actions of disgruntled employees. In addition, worms and viruses are categorized as threats because they could potentially cause harm to your systems and your organization. First, it's important to understand that threats in cybersecurity can come from automated attacks rather than just human hackers. These automated threats are often beyond our control and can be difficult to identify in advance. That's why it's essential for organizations to regularly assess threats and stay updated. One key step is to ensure your team members are always informed about current trends in cybersecurity. They should subscribe to blogs like YO'd, listen to podcasts such as the TechJanics Extreme IT, and join professional associations. This helps them gain access to breaking news, conferences, and webinars, which all improve their awareness of new threats. Another vital practice is to perform regular threat assessments. These assessments help determine the best approaches to protect a system against specific threats. Along with this, penetration testing is essential. It involves simulating real-world attacks to uncover vulnerabilities before malicious actors can exploit them. Now, let's move on to the concept of risk. Risk refers to the potential for loss or damage when a threat exploits a vulnerability. Risks can include financial losses from business disruptions, loss of privacy, damage to reputation, legal consequences, and in some severe cases, even loss of life. Risk can be defined as the product of a threat multiplied by vulnerability. To reduce risk, organizations must create and implement a risk management plan. When developing a risk management strategy, there are several key aspects to consider. First, you need to assess risk and determine needs. This involves designing and implementing a risk assessment framework that prioritizes the most important breaches that need attention. Even though the frequency of assessments may differ from one organization to another, this process must happen on a regular, recurring basis. Next, it's essential to include a total stakeholder perspective. Stakeholders aren't just business owners. They also include employees, customers, and even vendors. All these groups can potentially impact the organization negatively, but they can also play an important role in mitigating risks. As we can see, risk management is the key to cybersecurity. Now, let's go through a real-world scenario to understand how cybersecurity actually defends an organization against manipulative cybercrime. Cybercrime, as we all know, is a global problem that dominates headlines. It poses threats not only to individual security, but also to large international companies, banks, and even governments. Today's cybercrime landscape is no longer about lone hackers working in isolation. Instead, large organized crime rings function like startups. They often hire highly trained developers who constantly innovate and design new forms of online attacks. Most companies already have preventative security software in place to stop such attacks. But the reality is, no matter how secure we are, cybercrime will still happen. Now let's meet Bob. Bob is the chief security officer of a company that develops a mobile app to help customers track and manage their finances. Since his company deals with sensitive financial data, security is a top priority. Bob's company uses an activity response platform, ARP, a system that automates the entire cybersecurity process. The ARP integrates all the security and identity software needed to keep a large company secure into a single dashboard. It acts as a central hub for the people, processes, and technologies required to respond to and contain cyber attacks. Let's see how this platform works in the event of a security breach. One day, while Bob is away on a business trip, irregular activity is detected on his account. A user behavior analytics (UBA) engine, which monitors account activity, notices suspicious behavior, including late-night logins and unusual amounts of data being downloaded. This UBA software is the first signal that something is wrong. It sends an alert to the next tool in the chain, the Security Information and Event Management (SIEM) system. At this point, the ARP begins to orchestrate a chain of events designed to prevent the company from facing a serious security disaster. The ARP connects to the company's user directory software, which quickly identifies that the account in question belongs to an executive, Bob, who is currently away on business. Recognizing the potential risk, the system immediately locks Bob's account to prevent further suspicious activity. The ARP then sends out an incident notification, ensuring that the security team is aware of the event and can take additional steps if needed. This scenario demonstrates how proactive cybersecurity systems like ARP, combined with continuous threat assessments, stakeholder involvement, and a well-structured risk management strategy, can protect organizations from significant harm, even when the threat is automated or unexpected. Cybersecurity isn't just about installing software. It's about creating a layered defense strategy that adapts to evolving threats, prioritizes risks, and responds intelligently to suspicious activity. And as we've seen from Bob's example, automation plays a crucial role. It not only enhances response time, but also reduces the chances of human error, ensuring that companies remain secure even when threats attempt to exploit vulnerabilities. In conclusion, cybersecurity is a continuous process, one that involves awareness, assessment, risk management, and the intelligent use of automation. By staying informed, regularly evaluating threats, involving all stakeholders, and using systems like ARP, organizations can significantly reduce their risk and protect themselves from the complex landscape of modern cybercrime. Let's look at how the threat intelligence software plays a crucial role in responding to a security incident. Once the suspicious activity is detected, the system traces the IP address involved in the attack and sends it to the threat intelligence software. This software quickly identifies the address as belonging to a suspected malware server. As each piece of security software operates, its findings are automatically recorded in the Activity Response Platform, ARP incident. At the same time, the ARP is busy creating a detailed set of instructions, called a playbook, for a security analyst to follow. Following this playbook, the analyst proceeds to lock Bob's accounts and change his passwords to prevent further unauthorized access. Upon further analysis, the software determines that the attempted attack originated from a well-known cybercrime organization using stolen credentials. It turns out that Bob's credentials were stolen when the attacker found a vulnerability in the company's firewall software and used it to upload a malware-infected file. Now that the source of the attack has been identified, the analyst uses the ARP to locate and patch all vulnerabilities in the system. The ARP gathers information from endpoint tools to determine which machines require patching, recommends how to patch them, and then allows the analyst to push those patches instantly to all computers and mobile devices across the company. Meanwhile, Bob must alert the legal department about the incident. The AARP also instantly notifies the correct personnel about the situation and keeps them updated on the status of the incident. Once the attack is contained and Bob's account is secured, the analyst communicates details about which data may have been stolen or compromised during the breach. The analyst also identifies which geographies, jurisdictions, and regulatory agencies govern the users and information affected by the attack. After gathering this information, the AARP creates a series of tasks to ensure that the organization notifies all affected parties and follows all necessary compliance and liability procedures. In the past, a security breach of this scale would have required Bob's company to involve multiple agencies and third parties to resolve the issue, a process that could have taken months or even longer. But now, thanks to the RP, the entire incident response, from identifying and containing the threat to finding the source of the attack, fixing the vulnerability, and notifying all affected parties, can be completed in just a matter of hours. Looking ahead, Bob and his team plan to take their cybersecurity strategy even further by turning to cognitive security tools. These advanced tools will read and learn from tens of thousands of trusted publications, blogs, and other information sources. With this knowledge, they will be able to uncover new insights and patterns, anticipate and isolate attacks, minimize threats as they occur, and recommend immediate actions for security professionals to take. This proactive approach will help keep data safe and prevent companies like Bob's from ending up in the headlines for the wrong reasons. So, as we can see, cybersecurity is not just about defending against attacks. It's about responding intelligently, patching vulnerabilities, staying compliant, and continuously learning to stay ahead of cybercriminals. I hope you all learned something valuable about cybersecurity today and why it is so essential in today's world. If you have any doubts or questions regarding this topic, please post a comment down in the comment section. Cyber threats are evolving every second, but so can you. Don't just watch this video and move on. Take action right now. Secure your systems, back up your data, and stay informed. And if you're serious about mastering cybersecurity, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join us, because the next video could be the one that protects your entire digital future.